the wisdom of generations of women to help you have more joy every day. The Wisdom Coalition program begins right now.
I think we have to fight for joy.
I really do believe we create our joy. It's not something we wait for. It's not something that somebody gives us. It's not something that we can depend on somebody else for. We just create it.
How you can find more joy in your life.
Welcome to the Wisdom Coalition program. I'm Nancy Wertine.
And I'm Kim Howie. Thanks for joining us.
What if I told you that there was a way to have more joy in your life every day, despite your age, your income, and even your circumstances?
We believe there is, and that's why we started the Wisdom Coalition.
Yeah, and we've been bringing you these television shows on various topics, but many of you might be wondering what exactly is the Wisdom Coalition all about.
Science is showing positive thoughts have incredible benefits, from faster healing to increased creative thinking to higher salaries. And furthermore, the studies show positive thoughts actually create more positive thoughts. And so this is at the core of the Wisdom Coalition, in conjunction with another concept, that we each can choose joy in our own lives, sparking this snowball effect of positivity. The Wisdom Coalition brings this message to the community with events and presentations, a weekly podcast, this television program, and a new book, The Power of a Pivot.
And when we first hit on this concept of being in control of our own joy, there was one person that we took our idea to.
That was Heather Rodale, founder of Healing Through the Arts, and she is our advising partner and also our friend. Thanks for being with us today, Heather.
Thank you.
Yeah, I still remember that day that we came to you, and I don't even think we knew each other very well, but Kim and I had this grand idea, and we were very excited, and there was something about our idea that resonated with you, and what was that?
I think the idea of women helping other women and expanding your connections is just so important for women today. So I'm really excited about the Wisdom Coalition because I think that it's so important for women to be helping other women. And what you all are doing are expanding the connections that people have to find more joy, for meeting new people, for learning new things. And this is really important for lifelong learning, for everybody's health and happiness and success.
And you have brought so much wonderful wisdom to us, and we're so grateful for that. And you know, that's another cornerstone of the Wisdom Coalition, that we all have wisdom to share, and also women supporting other women in this collaborative community that we're creating and helping one another find more joy. So when we first met, you had talked to us about how joy became really important to you during your journey with cancer. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I hate to say that it took cancer for me to really find a joyful life, but after my surgery, my doctor said, just go live your life. And that, I didn't know what that meant. And he said that was different for everybody. So as I looked at my life, it really didn't have very much joy in it. It was mainly working off of a to-do list. So I hired a business coach, a life coach, to help me figure this out, because I was sliding into a deep depression and I knew that I needed to get out of it quickly and find a more joyful life. She asked me to let go of everything in my life that was not joyful. And it took me about 3 months to do that, because I said, well, I got to hold on to this in case that doesn't work. But after 3 months, I let go of everything except my home and my family. And then she said, we're going to put back things that are joyful. But when I had nothing other than my home and my family, I started dreaming. I started dreaming about healing through the arts. And during this time, I also, I took a leave from my job, and at this time I was taking art classes and taking other classes, just to figure out how to put more joy in my life. When I was doing art, I found that was really helping me heal. I wasn't feeling pain. I was focusing on something else. I was losing my sense of time and finding a sense of calm that had not been there before.
Yeah, so art for you has always brought you joy. And you know, as we've talked about, joy is so personal. You know, what's going to bring me joy is going to be different than what brings you joy. But your nonprofit now, you bring art into waiting rooms for cancer patients, which is wonderful.
For anyone.
Yeah.
We have this Hope and Healing juried art show, and when the show is over, any healthcare professional can send us a wish list of pieces of art they want to receive from the show. So when the show is over, we have to divide it up very carefully, but we're lucky that Dance Camera City makes prints of some of the art that is requested by more than one site. But we're in doctors' offices, we're in waiting rooms, we're in food banks, we're in school, programs,
It's a wonderful
any
effort.
place where there's healing.
Thank you, Heather. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
But you can go to our website, thewisdomcoalition.com, and join the conversation online. We'd love to hear from you.
I lost my husband to a drunk driver in a car crash, and that was an unexpected, very traumatic moment for me and those around me and those that loved him. What you got to do is just be aware and open your eyes and live, and then you'll feel that joy. I mean, it's there, it's all around you every day.
Welcome back. Our next guest is Linda Wallace, positive psychology coach and author of A Short Course in Happiness. Thanks for joining us, Linda.
I'm so glad to be here, Kim.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. You know, at the Wisdom Coalition, we talk about this whole concept of choosing our own joy, but let's face it, that's easy sometimes, but when things are not going well, that's a challenge. And I think for many of us, we're plodding along, putting one foot in front of the other, and we don't even really think a lot of times intentionally about what it is that's going on inside of our heads. So tell us a little bit about why that's so important, that tuning in and really hearing what we're saying inside of our own heads.
What a great question. It is. It's so easy to just sort of go through life in a bit of a blur. But there are so many reasons, small reasons, big reasons in any given day to find some joy, some ways to really enjoy our time. But we need to look for it. We need to spot it. And so tuning in, observing what's going on with me right now. What am I experiencing? And then figuring out what do I want to do with that. Is this a joyful moment for me? I really want to savor it. I want to remember this. I'm having this wonderful emotion. Let me really feel it. But also tuning in to see, is something going on in this moment that has information for me? Is something going on that's not okay for me, that I want to find the courage to speak up about, for example? And sometimes we find, I'm tuning into what I'm thinking, and what I'm thinking, I'm just ruminating, I'm just overthinking, this isn't helpful for me. And then to say, well, I want to distract myself from this, I'm going to do something else, because that kind of overthinking, over-tuning into discouraging or worrisome thoughts actually doesn't turn out to be helpful for us.
So when you have clients who are in that stage where they're ruminating and they're stuck in that pattern of negativity, and you said, distract yourself. Can you give an example of that? What exactly do you advise them to do?
Sure. When we're trying to distract ourselves from that, one thing we can do is reach for gratitude. What am I grateful for, either at this moment or in my life? Or if we just sort of keep coming back to the same worry or the same fretting over something that happened, it can be really helpful to just distract ourselves, to tell ourselves, I'm going to stop. I'm just overthinking this. I'm going to stop now, and then find something absorbing to do. Something physical can be really helpful because it really absorbs us, or something that we really love, or put on some music. And when the thinking comes back, just to remind ourselves, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm doing this, and just try hard to let it go.
Yeah, I know one of the great things that you always talk about that I love is the reframing. I was just doing that with my kids this morning because I looked around at my house that's still a disaster from the weekend, and instead of thinking to myself, I caught myself because I heard your voice, instead of thinking to myself, oh, I have to pick up this family room, right, I get to because my kids find joy in bringing their friends to my house. So one of you, talk about this whole concept of reframing. Maybe you want to start, Kim.
Yeah, well, that's my line, right?
Yeah.
Switching the I have to I get to.
And you're so good at it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. But yeah, reframing is so important. And I know it's a positive psychology concept, and maybe you'd like to elaborate on that.
That's right. We have so much stimulus every day, and there's only so much that we can pay attention to. And by focusing on what we're grateful for, what we like, the fact that I get to do this because we had fun together this weekend, it just gives us a lift rather than bringing us down. And in almost every moment, there's a way to say, what's good in this? What's working in this? It's so easy to focus on what's broken, what needs fixing. If we can just shift that to what's working, even if something needs to change, what is working here that I can build on?
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for being with
pleasure.
us. Linda.
That's great. And we'll be right back after some reflections on this topic from our Well of Wisdom.
I think it goes back to, what does joy mean to you?
You have to understand what makes you personally comfortable and happy, and you have to understand who you are as an individual within the world that you live in. It's not just something that's handed to you on a platter.
Welcome back. Let's talk now about some real tips to help all of us find more joy in our lives. And you know, Kim and I feel such a sense of urgency about this idea because it's been truly life-changing for us. And you know, our guests join us once again. And wouldn't you both agree that really making this switch in your life and intentionally choosing joy is incredibly life-changing?
Absolutely.
In what way?
No question about it. Well, I made a big change in my life. I was working as a senior executive with Johnson & Johnson, and I loved that career. It was a great career for many years, and then I just felt like, well, I was doing a lot of research into positive psychology, this field that studies human thriving, and one of the key things that it says, of course, is the way we spend the hours of our days has an enormous impact on our happiness. And I thought, if I take this research seriously, I need to make a change because my work is not feeling meaningful and joyful to me. And so I decided to make a big change in my life, and it has just, the benefits of it have been, you know, greater than I would have ever imagined. Because I chose, I want to live a more joyful life. I want to live into that every day. I gave up a lot to do that, and so I actively choose it. Choose the people that I want to be with and doing things that I love to do. And most importantly in that change is doing work that's really meaningful for me.
How about you, Heather? Do you have something you
I
want to add?
did joy mapping, which is taking the mind map format and just exploring what gives you joy. And then I found that there were certain things that I would put on my joy map, and then that became an action plan. So spending more time out in nature. I used to think of that as whenever I had nothing to do, I could go out for a walk. Now I intentionally get out in nature. I intentionally cook fun dishes for my family. I incorporate art into my life. And I wouldn't say daily, but maybe weekly, because it's just very relaxing for me.
Yeah, intention is so important. And actually, we have a program at the Wisdom Coalition called 10 Days to More Joy. And the very first step is setting intention. So we believe wholeheartedly in the importance of intention. And we also have our wisdom symbol, which Nancy and I wear around our necks. And we use that in our organization quite often to help us remind ourselves to stay connected to our why. And why is so important, you know, with the why behind everything we do. So Linda, can you talk about why it's so important to have that big picture thought in mind of the why?
Oh, absolutely. One of the key findings of positive psychology research is that having a meaningful life, a life that we each judge as meaningful for us, is one of the key markers of human thriving. And I find a lot of my coaching clients are career coaching clients, people who come in because they're feeling like they're just not thriving in their work. And almost universally, what they say is, I need more meaning in my life. I need to find more meaning in my life. Our life stories need to make sense to us and feel deeply meaningful. And that meaning may be, I'm doing this work that I don't love, but I'm doing it because it allows me to care for my family, which is the most meaningful thing for me. So whatever it is that drives meaning for each of us, we need to find ways to really put at the center of our lives.
You know, the other aspect of our wisdom symbol is this idea of living our lives from the inside out, you know, so that if we're good at at our core and we have that meeting and we know who we are, then these external factors that could bring us down don't necessarily do that. So Heather, how have you been able to sort of stay centered on the inside and try to deal with the things that come at you from the outside world? And we all have that, big and small. I mean, you go out and somebody annoys you at the grocery store. I mean, it can start that simply. So talk a little bit about that importance of trying to just self-reflect, know who you are, and then try to keep the rest of the world from invading that core.
Well, one of my doctors in my healing journey said, if you know who you are, you heal better. And that took me by surprise that a doctor would tell me that. Prior to cancer, I would say I was living on autopilot for most of the time. And I realized that there's a difference between striving and thriving. And I just needed to intentionally put more joyful things in my life that meant something for me. Also, my doctors couldn't tell me that I was cured. So if my life was shorter than expected, I wanted it to be more meaningful and joyful, and I wanted to leave more messages for my children. And that's where I incorporated art journaling. I'm a 3D mandala artist, and just, leaving things for my children that was going to last longer than I was, and also teaching them how to live a more joyful life as well.
In our new book, The Power of a Pivot, we talk about a lot of things that people can use to help them increase their joy. But we thank you for your wonderful suggestions today and for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll be back in just a moment from the kitchen with a health and wellness tip.
Dr. Wayne Dyer has this great quote that says, loving people live in a loving world, hostile people live in a hostile world. Same world. Well, joyous people live in a joyous world.
I don't think joy is going to be in a box sitting in the front of your door with a bow. I think you have to want it.
Welcome back. At the Wisdom Coalition, we believe so strongly in the benefits of a good health and wellness routine.
And we can't feel our best if we're not nourishing our bodies with healthy foods.
Yeah, but it's not always easy to eat healthy, especially at certain times, like in the afternoon when you just want that something sweet. So we have a couple of guests with us today. We have Amy Franquette and Sarah Hinch from Green Mouth. Thank you so much for being with us. You're going to show us a tasty treat.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We're excited to show and debut our classic goji berry date balls that Amy created.
I can't wait.
Yeah, all right. Should I get started?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, so these are super easy to make. We're going to do 4 cups of cashews in the food processor.
And cashews, if you didn't know, especially for women, they're really great mood enhancer and antidepressant. So especially in the middle, at midday when we're just wanting to go home and take a nap, this can actually elevate your mood and make you, give you that boost of energy along with the other great ingredients.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So what did you just add in there?
So we're doing 1.5 teaspoons of salt. We like using Himalayan pink salt because it's got all those minerals and electrolytes in it. And then we also are using, we use pure vanilla bean powder, but you can also use just vanilla extract, like a teaspoon, half a teaspoon of it.
Half a teaspoon to a full teaspoon. But the salt also, don't forget it and think that it's going to be a salty, savory treat. The salt actually just combines all these flavors. It makes it pop in your mouth.
Okay.
Yeah, it actually brings out the sweetness, so then it really makes that balance there. So then we're going to grind the dry stuff together in the food processor.
So, one of the things I think that's so great about this, what you're going to make, is that it's easy, right? It's easy, and it's also a much healthier than something with traditional sugar in it, isn't it?
Absolutely. Super simple, 6 ingredients, all whole foods, nothing processed. And sugar is a processed ingredient. Sugar is something that is addictive. It's been scientifically proven to be as addictive as cocaine. And it causes those highs and those lows. And what all of the fiber in here with the natural fruit from the date and the goji berries combined with the healthy fats like the coconut oil and the cashews creates a really easy stabilizing, satisfying snack.
You're not going to get that crash that you'd get like if you're eating one of those processed bars from the store. It's like wrapped. It's got like preservatives and weird sweeteners, whatever is in it. So these, like, exactly what's in it. It's Like you can see it right here, there's like 6 ingredients, so.
Well, and it tastes just as good.
Yeah, exactly. So then we're gonna use pitted dates. We use medjool dates because they're really fudgy and like caramelly.
They do look good.
So about 30 of these. Just gonna,
And dates, you know, it's not something I think that we think about eating a lot, but they are really good, and they really, when mixed in something like this, they just make a great snack.
I mean, I'll even eat them. Like I'll just take one and cut it open and put like a little almond butter in it, like cinnamon, and then just like.
Oh, that's delicious.
I mean, if you're really in a hurry, you can do that. If you have time to make these.
Like Amy said, they're fudgy and caramelly. So if you want something to taste like caramel without sugar, think of the date.
All right, so now you're gonna have to grind the dates.
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna process these a little bit.
So we're gonna.
Yeah.
But it's important to keep the wet and the dry ingredients separate. Do the dry first and then the wet. So then the dates and then the coconut oil.
And the coconut oil, so about 6 tablespoons of these. I like it when it's a little more melted, but it doesn't really matter. And then we are using goji berries too.
Oh, you put those in with the wet.
Yep, we're gonna put those in because they'll kind of get chopped up. And then,
So you're gonna put those together, the 2 ingredients.
Yep, and we're
and
gonna-
then you just shape them into balls, right? So there's no cooking, you know. And then what? You have to throw them in the fridge? Keep them in the fridge?
We don't throw them in the fridge at the cafe, but you may. You could shape them into pie squares, put them in the fridge, and then cut them into squares. Or if you like the look of the truffle-like balls, like we do at Greenmouth, you just roll them in your hand and then roll them in the coconut flakes, and then plate them
I was
or
saying
wrap
to you
them.
earlier, that's what I do, is I just make it in a brownie pan because I'm too lazy to shape them.
Exactly. That's super simple. You can have this all done in a matter of 15 minutes, really.
And you
if
can
do
use
it that
lots
way.
of different ingredients as well, right? I mean, I've made them with almonds before.
you can play around with anything. You can put like
Cacao.
cacao, you can put like cinnamon, you can put really whatever you want, like chia seeds.
So you're going to shape those into some balls, and Sarah, maybe if you just want to show us the finished product there. Looks beautiful. You're right. It looks good enough to eat. So thank you so much to both of you for being with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us.
Go out and spread some joy today.